I'm going to keep hammering this home. His odds have kind of dropped since he got off the hot start. I'm still going Kirill, third for yourself. Today is January 4th, 2025. If you guys can't tell, I am not in the room because I'm currently on a family vacation. I'm going to be leaving for a cruise tomorrow. But thank you guys for tuning in, you beauties. I'm Zach, joined as always by Preston. Preston, how are you doing today?
I'm jealous of you right now because it is like freaking freezing in Western New York today. Like, feels like it's in the single digits with how windy it is, and you're down in Florida
hmm
getting ready to go to the Bahamas tomorrow. Like, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, it was funny because in me, you, and Chris, like our little Discord group chat for the podcast, you guys were talking about how it's 2 degrees. I was like, yeah, it's 64 degrees. It's kind of chilly.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck you. It's not chilly. You're
Oh,
wearing a fucking jersey with no shirt on underneath,
dude.
probably with shorts on.
No,
You're
no,
chilling.
I have some like I this doesn't match, so like it is what it is. But nevertheless, so I'm glad I'm back Saturday. So we're still doing work here on vacation, just minimal work. Anyways, though, so with the season pretty much being halfway done, I can't believe it's already been almost halfway over at this point, January
It's going
4th.
by really fast.
It is. A lot of teams are getting up to close to that 40 game mark.
Hmm
How about we do some award midseason picks because we did preseason ones. I know last year we did midseason ones, and why not do it again this season? Because it's always fun too.
I wonder last year how our midseason picks did because I mean I really don't remember who we picked for most of them, but I have no idea if we've ever followed up and see if like we got any of those right.
I don't know. Maybe the
We'll have to do
next
that this
time.
year.
Yeah, maybe the next time we're doing an in-person recording, we can kind of go back and look at them. I think that'd be sick. Whatever. All right. So, do you want to start with the Hart Trophy? We're gonna go Hart, then the Rocket, then the Art Ross, Calder, Vezina, Jack Adams. If that works for you, that works for me.
Yeah,
All right, sweet. All right. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first, or we can go at the same time? Doesn't really
I'll,
matter.
I'll go. I'll go first. I feel like we
Go
might
ahead.
agree on most of them, but
Yeah.
I think right now the pretty obvious pick for the heart is he's also going to be my Art Ross pick is Nathan McKinnon. Dude is
Okay.
just in another stratosphere right now. I mean, dude, he looks like the best player in the league right now. I know Connor McDavid's still around, but I mean, he has 64 points right now. It's almost it's more than like what's it, 7 points?
Yes.
He has
Right
7 points from
now,
second
yeah.
place, which is Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl's having a really good season, but Nathan McKinnon's like still he's separating himself, and I don't see any signs of him slowing down, especially with the way this Avalanche team is built, where they heavily
hmm
rely on their top three guys in McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar. I think that was really evident in their game against the Sabres yesterday, where the Sabres blew another big lead late, and Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar were two big pieces for that.
They took that game over, and I was gonna pick McKinnon because right now he is probably the most valuable player outside of maybe Quinn Hughes or Cal McCarr or whatever. But that's not what we're here for. We are here because I'm gonna keep hammering this home. His odds have kind of dropped since he got off the hot start. I'm still going Kirill, third for yourself. I'm
Yeah,
still
that's
going
not.
him. I know
I don't know if that's in the
I
cards
know it's a little
anymore.
bit of a hot take now because I could have gone with any of the guys that I named plus Leon Draisaitl. But I don't know. I think just Minnesota, they just go however far Kaprizov takes them, right? If Kaprizov
Yeah, I
plays
agree.
good, like that might be obvious because you can look at that with every team. Be like, well, if McKinnon and Carr have an off game, they're not going to win. Same thing with
Yeah,
Draisaitl and McDavid. Like we saw the Oilers get off to a rough start, and that was all because McDavid and Draisaitl did not get off to the greatest start either. But I think with Minnesota, their depth is just so much worse than compared to most of the top tier East Western Conference teams that I think, like
uh,
we saw it.
I don't know about that.
Do you think their depth really compares that up to maybe the Oilers? Maybe I mean I
I
guess
think
the
their depth is.
Avalanche.
I think that's a big issue for the Oilers is their lack of depth. I think Minnesota has more consistency in their lineup than the Oilers. I mean, I know the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl kind of carrying the load, but
hmm
I mean, if I had to name teams, I think that the team with the best four lines I think in the league right now is the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, by far, the Winnipeg Jets
I
right now
mean,
should be the favorite out of the West.
I think Vegas has a pretty consistent lineup. Washington as well. Minnesota does rely on Kaprizov a lot. I mean, that's not a lie, but I mean, I don't think I think they do have a little bit better, more reliable depth down the lineup than the Oilers do, honestly.
I think it's not a bad thing either if a team does end up relying on their star a little bit. Like that's just the nature of hockey, right?
Well, that's what they're there for,
Um,
yeah.
exactly. Like you can't knock a team or a player for having help, for example, right? Like with the MVP thing, it seems like a lot of the NHL, the Hart Trophy, at least lately, is who puts up the most points being on one of the best teams, right? And I think that's really what it's turning into. And the only way that Kaprizov doesn't end up winning it is if he just is falls outside of the top 4 to 5 in points. Then I don't see him winning it. I do think the most realistic option is going to be a McKinnon or a Draisaitl or even Cal McCarr when Hughes. So at this point of the season, yeah, Kaprizov is a little bit of a hot take. If you would have asked me that a month and a half ago, it was looking good. So it goes back and forth like every week at this point.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you a little bit towards like more the guy. If you have more points, you're more likely to win. I'm trying to think of the last time. I think the last time that was really the case was probably when Taylor Hall won MVP when he was on the Devils. Like he didn't have like 100+ point season. There was several guys that had more points than him that year, but you couldn't argue with anybody that if he was not a New Jersey Devil that year, the Devils wouldn't even be stiff in the playoffs.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think that argument can be made for Nathan McKinnon. Like they rely on him heavily, and he still has the high production value. I mean, he did this last year too. It's Casey Middlestat was brought in to kind of address that depth issue last year, and he's been horrible lately. He's been demoted to the fourth line. He's been up and down, but if McKinnon, Rantanen, and McCarr aren't going, especially McKinnon, because he just drives all that play. He's a beast. I
yeah,
think he is the most valuable player in the league. I think you could make a really strong argument for Cale McCarr. I think I think the obvious Norris pick this year as well.
yeah.
That dude,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know, but I find it hard to believe that it will be anybody but Nathan McKinnon this year unless he goes through a really cold spell and kind of takes himself out of contention.
Yeah, and to finish things off here, going to the Taylor Hall thing real quick, he finished sixth in the NHL in this 2017-18 season when we won the Hart Trophy in points. Connor McDavid was first at 108. Now 108 points gets you, hopefully you're in the top 20 in points at this point. That's where the league has really gone the past 6, 7, 8 years.
The scoring's
Um,
way up.
and it's way up. I think there's 21 teams that average 3 goals a game or higher. I think that's the
That's
most it's
crazy.
ever been. It's nuts.
Yeah,
It's
that's
nuts, right?
crazy.
All right, the Rocket Trophy. I think this might be pretty obvious for both of us. Are we? I'll go here. I have Leon Draisaitl. I think
So
he's
do
gonna
I. I
end up
mean,
getting it. Yeah,
this one you can't really have much of a debate for because this was just pure stats. Like whoever
yeah,
has the most goals wins that award. And I mean, he has 5 more goals than second place. I mean, Kaprizov, Scheifele, Braden Point, Nylander are all tied for second with 23
hmm
goals. Rantanen, and then you have three guys with 22 goals. I mean, but the way Leon Draisaitl is going to have to continue to play this year for the Oilers to like be really good is he's going to have to keep scoring like that. And if McDavid keeps feeding him, he's going to keep scoring. So I find it if he keeps playing like this, I think he's the obvious choice to win the Rocket.
yeah. And I'm pretty sure he's on a massive point streak. Him and McDavid are both on it. I think Draisaitl in his last is it 12 games or 15 games, something like that. He has 10 goals and 14 assists for 24 points. And that goals category really sticks out because I don't see Mark Scheifele or Kaprizov really keeping pace with Draisaitl. I mean, I think the only guys inside the top 10 right now that could catch up to him is either Sam Reinhart or Mikko Rantanen because they're both coming off of 50 goal seasons. We both see them put the puck in the back of the net. And sure, I mean, there's other guys like William Nylander, Braden Point, but that's not really their game to be those snipers and goal scorers. And I think Leon Draisaitl might have this in the bag, even though he only has a 5 goal lead over Kaprizov. I just think that Draisaitl playing with McDavid does make a huge difference at some point.
I honestly think though if Ovechkin didn't miss time, I think he'd be in this conversation too with the way he's been scoring this year as well. He scored another goal today. So I think he would definitely be in that conversation if he didn't get hurt. It's
I
insane
don't
that
I don't
he's
think
still
I don't
he's still this productive at this age and even missing time.
I don't disagree with you either. Um, I do think that Ovi would be inside the top five in goal scored, total goal scored right now. I think how many goals is he at right now?
For
Just the season.
I believe he's 19 or 20.
Yeah, he has 19 goals in 23 games. That's what it is. Right now, he would be probably a goal or two behind Leon Draisaitl if he
Yep.
played most games. Like genuinely, like you said it on our last episode, if he didn't miss time, he would be close to 30 goals right now, and that's such a fact. Like he has 4 goals in his 5 games since returning. He had another goal today. He's 23 goals away now from Wayne Gretzky's record in
Yep.
the next
From
40
breaking
games.
it.
Like
He's
that's
22 away
exactly.
from tying.
So it's doable. So I don't know, man. Like it sucks because with Ovi missing the 5 weeks that he did, I feel like he's out of the conversation. But man, if this dude
Oh,
goes
I
on,
agree. I don't think he's winning the Rocket this year. I just thought I added in there because I legitimately think he would have had a chance if he didn't miss time.
mhm. Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, so the Art Ross Trophy. I think my pick is probably gonna be obvious with Nathan McKinnon. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I already said mine earlier. Mine is also Nathan
yeah.
McKinnon. Usually, typically goes hand in hand. Whoever wins MVP usually also wins the Art Ross because typically nowadays the MVP is the guy with the most points. So
hmm I mean, McKinnon's so dominant. Like watching him, I got to start watching more Avalanche games, but it's hard being on the East
I mean,
Coast
they're a fun team
nowadays.
to watch because
Dude,
they're
they
never out
are
of a
fun,
game.
right? Like, dude, they can be down 3-0, and Nathan McKinnon will take over a game. Like
Hmm.
we've seen him and McCarr do it time and time again, and McKinnon right now sits at 64 points. Next closest is Leon Draisaitl, 7 points away, like you mentioned. I don't think Draisaitl is catching up to him. How good Draisaitl is, I think McKinnon is just too good at this rate. He's put up so many
Hmm.
points in such a little amount of time to really be caught. The only way that he would get caught is obviously he would be in a slump, and I don't think McKinnon's going to be in a slump. I think he's on a mission this year. I think the Avalanche are. This might be the best chance for the Avalanche to make a deep playoff run outside of their Cup winning year in 2022. Genuinely,
Oh,
like.
I think the West is pretty wide open. I mean, yeah, I mean Winnipeg is really really good. Vegas is really good. We'll see what happens. I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of teams in that conversation from the West right now.
I mean, so with all right, Ross. If there's one guy outside of Nathan McKinnon, are we both agreeing on Leon Draisaitl? Because Rantanen's only 1 point behind Draisaitl, and of course, Connor McDavid will always turn it on. Now he's on a 15-game point streak or something crazy like that. He has 3 goals for 20 assists in that time span.
I mean, I think you always kind of have to keep Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl in that conversation just because of the amount of points they pile up as well. I think you could put Nathan McKinnon, Draisaitl, Rantanen, and McDavid all lumped together because
Mhm.
most of the team's goals they're involved in some kind of way. That's just
Yeah.
how those teams are built to be. I mean, same thing with Nikita Kucherov. He's involved in a lot of the Lightning's goals because he does everything. They ask him to do a lot, and he can do a lot for his team. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's out of the question to have any of those guys in that conversation. But I mean, Nathan McKinnon's kind of setting himself apart right now.
All right, moving on to the Calder Trophy. This could go a lot of different ways because I
This is a
think
tough one.
there's 4 or 5 guys that are realistic options between Hudson, Michkov, Celebrini, and Wolf. I think are the top 4 guys. I think 100% are gonna end up being Calder consideration. All right, I'll have you go first this time.
But this one's kind of tough for me. I have to go with Macklin Celebrini. I think because he's 2 points behind Michkov for most in the league by a rookie, but he's only played 29 games. He's almost at a point per game pace
Hmm
as a rookie. Michkov's played 10 more games than him. Michkov's having an incredible season too. They're both going to be phenomenal players in the NHL for a long time, but Celebrini has really impressed me since he's came back from his injury.
Yeah, I'm going with Celebrini too. I know a lot of our picks are the same, but I mean, like Michkov is at 29 points. Celebrini's at 27. Celebrini right now, if he wasn't out for those 2 to 3 weeks that he was, he'd be sitting right now at 35 points or something crazy like that. And I do
And
think that we're
I
gonna have to.
think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, you're good. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I think Lane Hudson does have a
Yes, I
real.
was about to mention it.
He should definitely be in that conversation too, especially as a defenseman. But
Hmm.
you have to measure success a little differently based on position. Obviously, forwards are typically have more points, but he's right up there with them with points too as a defenseman, which I think is a little bit more impressive. I mean, I feel like this is going to be an interesting vote at the end of the year, especially if these guys keep playing the way they're playing. And Joseph Wool still considered a rookie?
I don't. No, I don't think so. I'm gonna double check that for you, but I'm almost
Did he play too many
almost.
games last year?
He might have.
He
Let me
played
go to.
25 last year.
Yeah, yeah, he's too old. I think it's 24 is the cutoff.
Okay, then never mind that at that point then. But
I
yeah, I
mean,
think it's a three-headed race then with Michkov,
do we
Celebrini, and Hudson.
Dustin Wolf is completely out of this thing then?
I mean, what he's doing is impressive. Don't no doubt. I mean, I kind of forget about him just a little bit, just because he's on Calgary, and I really don't pay attention to that team too
Yeah.
often. No disrespect to the Flames or their fans. It's hard for me to watch a Western Canada team like,
Hmm.
regularly. But no, but
Yeah,
Dustin
I'm
Wolf.
with
I
you.
mean, Dustin Wolf, not Wool. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's been really good. I think he's part of the big reason why the Flames are even in a playoff conversation.
I mean, right now he sits at 19 games played. Him and Vladar have split the time completely at both 19 games played, 19 games started, or whatever. Dustin Wolf sits at a 914 save percentage, 261 goals against average. And I coming into the season, well, I guess not coming into the season, sorry, about maybe a month into the season, he was playing lights out. He looked like possibly he could make a run at the Vezina. Obviously, it slowed down. He was that entire Calgary Flames team. And if Hudson wasn't doing what he was doing, and Celebrini wasn't doing what he was doing, and even I guess we can go with Michkov too, I think Wolf would certainly be in the conversation because it's hard to come in as a rookie with limited NHL experience by that. I think maybe he had 1 game under his belt or 2 games max coming into this season and put up the numbers that he's
Yeah,
doing. So we see goalies time and time again. Most of them don't come in to succeed their rookie year. That's why we never see goalies win Calder trophies because it's such a damn hard position to transition from the AHL to the NHL right away. So I do think what he's doing is impressive, but man, oh man, maybe come the end of the season, my pick might change to Lane Hudson with what he's doing because, dude, offensively, he looks like one of the best offensive defensemen in the entire league, not just of rookies, which is nuts, which is absolutely nuts. So we'll see. But right now, I'm still going with Max Celebrini because he's disgusting over there in San Jose, and he's gonna do great things the rest of the season.
yeah, I
All
agree with
right.
you. I think Celebrini's my pick for now. I could definitely change though.
Yes, yes, 100%. All right, the Vezina Trophy. Connor Hellebuck is about to take home his third Vezina Trophy if the season ended right
I agree with that. I
now.
think another guy I think really deserves some consideration is Philip Gustafson. He's
Yes,
been
yes, yes.
phenomenal this year, and I think he's been a big part of the reason too why the Wild have had the success they've had this year because he can steal games for them. He's been that good this year.
I mean, it's nuts because I was going back and forth between Hellebuck and Gustafson, but Hellebuck is playing out of his freaking mind right now, and
Oh, I
Gustafson
think
is too.
Hellebuck. Yeah, I think Hellebuck's the best goalie in the league right now,
Yeah.
but I think Gustafson is in the conversation.
Yeah, I think Gustafson right now would be a finalist at minimum. If he ended up winning it, for example, like I really wouldn't give a fuck because he deserves it. He's earned it as much as Connor Hellebuyck, and who knows? Maybe it'll be a voter fatigue thing where let me. I'm gonna pull up this. Okay, so
Is voter
let's
fatigue a thing
say
in the NHL?
I don't know if it is genuinely. That's I don't
Because
think
I
it
feel like
is. I
with
mean.
too many of the awards in the NHL, there's not really a lot of judgment awards. Most of it's just stat based. And I think if you just look at the pure stats, I think Hellebuck has the most impressive in the league for a goalie.
Like right now, yeah, I think Hellebuck has the most impressive stats. I think his goals against average is barely above 2. He has at 206. That is crazy.
He has five
So,
shutouts this year, 927 save percentage.
yeah, he's playing out of his mind. All right, the Calder Trophy, the last award we're going to be going. Oh, not the
I
Calder.
mean,
Sorry,
Jack Adams.
the Jack Adams Award. Did we go over the Norris? No, we didn't go over the
And we
Norris
skipped
yet, right?
that one. We could do the
Okay.
Norris too. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Let's do. All right, let's do the
I think
Norris.
that one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, Cal McCarr.
Yeah, Kel McCarr is the best defenseman in the league,
I
hands
don't.
down. I think there's a couple guys that are close. I mean, like Quinn
Yeah,
Hughes is phenomenal, but Kel McCarr is just one of one. I don't think there's anybody like him in the NHL.
I don't think it's a landslide. Genuinely, I think Quinn Hughes is neck and neck with Cal McCarr. I think the only reason Cal McCarr really has the edge is simply because I think he takes his offensive game to the next level, and that's where the NHL is headed to with offensive defensemen if it's not already there. And I think Cal McCarr is a little bit better defensively too than Quinn Hughes. I think the analytics stated Cal McCarr is a little bit of a higher percentile in overall defense than Quinn Hughes, and has a higher offensive percentile, which is why I'm leaning Cal McCarr over Quinn Hughes. But if Quinn Hughes won it again, I wouldn't be mad at all. But right now, I think it's Cal McCarr to lose. I think he's a heavy favorite right now. I don't know what the betting
It should
odds
be.
are, but he is the heavy betting favorite.
I think one defenseman that does deserve a little bit of credit though is Zach Werenski in Columbus. Nobody
Hmm.
talks about him because he's in Columbus and they're not a great team, but he has 43 points this year. He has more points than Quinn Hughes right now, and he does everything for the Blue Jackets. He has to be one of the. He's probably the best player on that team right now.
Yeah.
Zach Werenski's having a very very impressive season.
Before we move on here, I'm looking at Zach Werenski's stuff. Oh, all right. So right now his overall percentile is in the 90th percentile. His offense is 97th, and his defense is 18th. But who cares? Defense, that doesn't matter if you're a defenseman half the time, anyways. Nowadays. Speaking of percentiles, I don't know if you saw the comment, but somebody commented on maybe it was like a couple weeks ago about saying stop saying all this percentile stuff and just say they're a good hockey player, which I found
That's a for nerds.
I found kind of amusing because I'm all about, if you say a certain statement, make sure you back it up with evidence type of deal. But I guess he didn't like that. So,
I think when it comes to analytics, I think there's two ways to gauge a player. I think analytics does kind of give you some underlying statistics, and
hmm
you can catch some trends that it can be easy to miss. But I also think like the eye test is part of it too. Just watching a player, because I mean, there's certain guys where you just watch and like them playing, you're like, wow, like this guy is legit. Like when I watched Connor McDavid play for the first time, and I just saw him the way I was like, oh my god, this guy is on a different level.
there's some things like you said, the eye test, man. Some players just pass it, and even if their
Hmm.
numbers don't suggest that they're this superstar player, it just looks like it. So. That's the thing with analytics is you have to pick and choose. Like some are good, some aren't great to
I
judge,
think it's
but
a
never know.
good tool to help overall evaluating a
Mhm.
player. I don't think it's everything,
It's not
but
everything.
it does help you get some underlying little details. I mean, hockey is such it's a game of bounces sometimes too, and I sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story to play because like plus minus I think is a flawed statistic.
Unless it's very dramatic in either direction, then I think it can kind of depends because last year kind of a was a minus 44 on that shit Blackhawks team. So I mean,
Yeah,
I
it would be
guess
very misleading. Like he had a good season, especially considering the circumstances. But is he directly involved in every goal scored against him? I mean, that's kind of where analytics can help you see a little bit.
right.
Like they're doing a really good job right now with tracking positions of players and tracking them on the ice and their speeds and stuff like that. And I think I'm sure the NHL teams have way more access to the data than me and you do. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
great people out there that try really hard to get us all the statistics that they can, but they can't get everything. The NHL probably has access to way more data than we could possibly think of.
Yeah, which it would be so sick if we had access to all of it, but obviously it's a multi-billion-dollar business. So, all right. So
Well,
the
they
last
don't want people being armchair GMs either. Like that was part of the reason why they got get cap friendly because GMs like John honestly didn't like it.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, they see all this stuff and they think they know what they're doing, but they still don't.
But they genuinely don't know what they're doing. Like we don't know shit compared to people that work for NHL teams. So, all right, the last award, the Jack Adams Award. I feel like we're gonna go the same way with this award.
I don't know about that. I got two
Spencer
guys, and I
Carberry.
don't think he's one of my two. Yeah,
Okay, what's your second one?
John Hines from the Wild.
I like that pick. I like it a lot. I love it.
Because I think you can also throw Winnipeg's coach in there too. I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Rick
I
Bonus.
usually Rick Bonos retired.
Oh, did he retire? Damn, I'm late to the game.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't even know then.
Um, like I was saying though, I feel like with Coach of the Year, unless like a team has like an historic season where like okay, like when Jim Montgomery won it in Boston when
Hmm.
they broke the winning record, or when Tampa Bay and John Cooper won it. I mean, like you had to give it to those, but I feel like there's been so many surprise teams this year that have been like way better than anybody thinks, and I think the two best examples of that are Washington and Minnesota. I mean, I
Yeah.
think Winnipeg was kind of like they're probably a playoff team. Minnesota, I don't think many people had even being a playoff team, maybe a wild card team at best, but being as good as they are, and Washington, like they're way better than anybody thought they were going to be. And I think Spencer Carberry deserves some love last year for the Jack Adams because
Hmm.
considering he got that Washington team to the playoffs.
Sure, I think you could definitely go the Wild because, like you said, I think we had them going to the playoffs, or at least myself did. I had them as a wild card team, but like the fact that they're top in the Central Division
Well, they
is
might be the best team in the Eastern
unexpected.
Conference.
I was talking about the Wild.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Caps still.
No, no,
Okay,
no,
I was
no.
like,
Yeah. The Caps, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. Maybe you can make an argument for the Panthers at least, but the Capitals won again today. Granted, it's against the Rangers, the dumpster fire Rangers, but still, a win's a win, right?
ooh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, Minnesota has definitely been surprising this year. Washington as well. I think Sheldon Keefe in New Jersey deserves a little bit of
mhm.
love. He was my preseason pick for Coach of the Year. I think he's done a phenomenal job in New Jersey, turning it around. They are on a little bit of a skid right now. They've lost four in a row, but they'll bounce back. Craig Berube at Toronto, I thought's done an excellent job as well. Can't discount him. I mean, I know Toronto already had a good team, but the improvements they've made defensively, I think, has really given this team a real chance to win in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
maybe maybe Green over there in Ottawa could deserve some love. I don't know how much of
Yeah, I
that's
think if they
Linus
make the
Ullmark.
playoffs, if they end up making the playoffs, I think I don't think he'll win, but I mean, he'll get a little bit of love.
Get
I mean, they're kind of
consideration for it.
yeah, but I think right now, I think Spencer Carberry should be the favorite to win. Just what he's done in Washington is extremely impressive, especially with a big, huge roster turnover they had, where they had so many new players come in to change things, and the way he's kind of rejuvenated Ovechkin,
It
I think
should
is
be
very
Hines and
impressive.
it should be Hines and Carberry should be the two runaway favorites right now, neck and neck together.
I don't know about. I think Carber right now is I think the favorite. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, he
but
is.
Hines I think deserves some love. The Winnipeg Jets coach. I'm sorry I don't know his name. I'm sure you get an angry comment about that. Sheldon Keefe, Craig Berube. There's a bunch of coaches you could throw in there. Like any of the teams with the really good records. I mean, even in Vegas too with Bruce Cassidy. He's done a great job
He's
with
done a
Vegas as
great
well.
job.
I mean, I think Bruce Cassidy is one of the best coaches in the league, hands down. Anyway, I think Boston has fired two of the best coaches in the league the last few years when they
Uh-huh.
fired Cassidy and they fired Jim Montgomery. Like those are two really good coaches that any other team in the league would love to have.
All right, so I'm going to transition things over to some drama, I guess, some saga, whatever, over in the Pacific Northwest with the Vancouver Canucks with Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Apparently, for the past month, these two players have been butting heads. Seemingly, it feels like every single day there's some type of report about Pettersson isn't happy, Miller isn't happy, vice versa. And then these players have also come out in interviews saying that they're fine, that nothing is happening, there's no locker room drama, nothing like, whatever, like the almost like fighting reporters at this point. But there's reports from Elliot Friedman, Suravelli, literally everybody inside the organization outside saying that these two aren't good, and one of these players is going to get traded. And Elliot Friedman on the last episode of 32 Dollars podcast suggested that if he is Davidson in Chicago and the JT Miller thing is real, Chicago should heavily pursue JT Miller and try to make a trade for him. Imagine Miller with Bedard. I heard the Rangers are interested in acquiring either Pettersson or Miller as well. The Sabres are being rumored in there. I don't really care about that because they're not going to get him, but that's just
I
me
mean, I
mentioning.
didn't. Elliot Freeman just made the whole shit up about Elias Pettersson and the Sabers because he was like, "What if this happened?" And I remember like everyone was talking about it. It's like, dude, no, he literally he shouldn't have fucking said that.
The one guy, though, the one out of like maybe five, 10 guys that could easily get something started said that. So I don't think that's really a huge possibility. But Chicago, though, seems like a real possibility if this Pedersen and Miller thing starts to boil over because with Pedersen, I this is tough because Pedersen has been called out numerous times by the Canucks organization about that he's underperforming and that he just needs to suck it up and just play hockey at this point. They're paying him $11 million, and I don't know. Maybe this is becoming a thing because the media is making it a thing. Maybe it's not as big of a thing as we're all making it out to seem. But nevertheless, though, I think one of these two gets traded before the start of next season, whether it's by the deadline this year because the Canucks aren't playing all that great or in the summer.
I mean, that would be kind of wild. I think if they want to win a Stanley Cup, I think the best course forward is if there is drama going on, figure it out.
Hmm.
I think this team is better when these two are on the same page and playing at a high level. I mean, we've seen it. Pedersen has not really been himself this year. And I believe I saw a stat in the games where JT Miller didn't play. Pedersen actually looked a lot better. He looked more comfortable out there. So I'm not sure if it's just two heads butting and, JT Miller's kind of a more vocal guy than Elias Pettersson, and maybe he's just speaking out more in the locker room and calling out things he doesn't like, seeing maybe things a guy's playing lazy or not playing hard enough, and Pettersson isn't handling that the right way. I think I mean, obviously, teams are going to be very interested in treating for either of them. I think Miller might be a little bit more attractive right now because of that. He's a much smaller cap hit at $8 million, but he also has a full no movement clause. So
He can pick wherever he wants to go.
yeah, but I mean, Pettersson also will get a really, really big return. It's just that $11.6 million contract might be a little tough for some teams to swallow. I mean, I could definitely see a team like Chicago that literally can use the help of anybody, just calling and seeing what their options are. A team that's going to have a top three pick in the draft. I don't know if that pick is possibly on the table in a really huge trade. I mean, they have plenty of prospects. If you can get a guy in there right now, especially a guy that could help Connor Bedard and help him kind of get back on track, yeah, it doesn't hurt to call.
I think if I'm Chicago, I don't put that pick on the table. If like Vancouver asks for, it, I say no.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's just they're gonna have options if they don't want him to keep that pick.
Yeah, of course.
Let me see the draft stock real quick for the Blackhawks. So
I
they have two
think they
first round
have.
picks this year.
Yeah.
So they have a pick from Toronto. What trade was that? That was for yeah. So when Toronto traded for Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty,
Okay.
so they have two first round picks to play with. Obviously, I think they keep theirs because it's going to be a top five pick, possibly the number one overall pick. I think there's a
Yeah.
decent chance that happens. They have also have two second round picks, so they definitely they have three second round picks next year. So they definitely have draft stock to trade for a really big name player if they wanted to. Just how much more? When you're a really bad team, like you got to be smart, especially your first and second round picks. Like you don't want to sell all of them. I think that was kind of a problem Ottawa ran into for the last few years. Like they wanted to quickly close the rebuild, so they would trade away valuable trade assets and like from draft capital to get players now that didn't end up working out. Like Jacob Chikrin, they traded a first round pick for him that blew up in their face. When they traded for no, they actually fleeced where they traded away Matt Duchene. But that was a
Yeah.
while ago. But very different Ottawa Center team back then. But the Chicago, they have draft capital available if they want to start selling. It depends on how satisfied they are with their prospect pool. If they really think that they need to start building now, I mean, we'll see.
I think Chicago has to be really meticulous with things because I know there's going to be an urgency to get Connor Bedard a like bona fide number one line mate to play with. Like they tried with Taylor Hall, they're trying with Bertuzzi. Like it's just not working out with them. Like I'm not saying they're not good line mates; they're great vets for him. But the have an opportunity to be able to go get a Pettersson or JT Miller without giving up too much future draft stock or prospects or whatever, I think would be huge. Now, I don't know what the asking price would be for either of those players because frankly, I haven't
Be
really
high,
looked too deep
very
into
high.
it. But well, of course, it's going to be high. But I think the $3.5 million cap difference between Miller and Patterson might mean more than what I think a lot of people might
I
understand.
mean, if I think the most realistic teams that could possibly trade for them are the bottom feeders that have a lot of cap space that can
Hmm.
afford to take on a contract like that. I mean, I can't really see a contender making a huge trade like that. I mean, it has happened in the past. I mean, maybe you could see another team swap a really big money contract and see what goes on from there. But for these
It,
like low, because there's several teams that have a ton of cap space, and I think Pettersson not having any trade protection kind of makes him a little bit more sought after for these really bad teams.
I think Patterson personally, I think the Canucks would rather trade Patterson than Miller simply because of the $11.6 million. I know they just signed that to him back in March. It has been or whatever, but he hasn't been playing like that contract ever since. Um, and plus he's more expendable too. He doesn't have a say at where he goes at all. Does a clause kick in at all in the contract form?
I think eventually, but not yeah. It starts
Not
next year. So if they're
yeah.
going to trade
So
him, it's this year before
they
July
gotta
1st.
correct. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. That would be nuts though.
I would
If
be shocked if
Peters
it happened. I think the Canucks' best way forward is to try to find a way to make it work. And if it really, really cannot, if there's actual drama going on between them and it's just unsolvable, I think, yeah, you have to move one of them because you don't want to destroy your whole team. But I still, I think if you're the Canucks, your best path forward is to just try to fix what's going on.
I'm with
I mean,
you, but
shit,
at
get
the
a
same
freaking,
time,
they can go to couples therapy or something, literally anything.
they've been trying to figure this out for the past month and a half, and nothing's been working. Like, if you're the Canucks, just lock them up in a fucking room together until they solve this shit at this point.
I don't know if that's a good idea. One of them might not make it out
They
if
might
there's an
kill each
actual
other.
beef going on.
Yeah. But grow up. Like, you just, I think both of them are afraid to talk to each other about, their different
I genuinely have no
lives.
idea what they could possibly be
It's
so angry
stupid.
with each other about, but
I don't know. I'm not even gonna put any like conspiracy theories out there because I don't want to assume wrong. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. They'll move on from it. This thing will be over in like 2 months. I hope at least. All right. So there's some news that broke over the last week about Jonathan Toews possibly coming back to the NHL. He's trying to make a return. He's trying his best he can. There's a couple teams like the Leafs, Avalanche, and Jets. They have all shown interest per Frank Seravalli. He hasn't played since the 2019-20 season, correct? I think that's correct. Because he didn't play in the 2021 season where it was the 50 game season, whatever it was, I believe. Because I think he had the heart conditions and he couldn't risk playing it and possibly catching COVID.
so he played 22-23,
Okay, how many games did he play?
53. He missed some
Holy
time due to
shit.
injury. Yeah.
I did not know he played in 22-23.
Yeah, because I believe that the Blackhawks approached him and Patrick Kane about possibly being traded, and Patrick Kane did end up like he has like I'd be okay with
Hmm.
being traded, and Jonathan Taves is like no, I think this is gonna be might be my last year. I want to stay in Chicago, and yeah, because he technically hasn't retired yet. He just said he was taking some time off. I mean, I'd be
Correct.
curious to see if he's got anything left in the tank. I think teams are it's definitely worth taking a shot on, especially if it's like for a vet minimum contract on a contending team. Yeah, for sure. As 3 time
Dude,
Stanley Cup champion, former captain, like yeah, you give him at least a tryout.
I think that he would be good on almost any Stanley Cup contending team, not just a playoff
Hmm.
contender, but a team that can go out and win a cup. And even whether he's playing 4 or 5 minutes or whether he's in and out of the lineup, having him in that locker room, I think would be huge for guys too, especially on a team like maybe in Minnesota. Definitely a Maple Leafs, definitely a Jets. Like teams that they
Avalanche makes a
can.
lot of sense to me too.
I mean, they need the depth. They truly do need the depth. And if even if Tays is playing 15 minutes, not even playing 12 minutes a night, if they sign
I
him,
mean,
let's
they
say
did that
they
last year when they brought in Zach Parise, and I thought he was very useful. I thought he was very good for
he
them.
had some key goals in that Winnipeg Jets series, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zach
I
Parise,
think
I thought was good for them last year.
yeah.
In the very
And
he played 30 games last year. He had 10 points. Only averaged like about 12, 13 minutes a game. But no, there's value in still those grizzled vets like that.
yeah, and even with Parise and everything, like he was pretty much retired at that point. It wasn't official, but I think it's a little bit of a different situation with Taves because Taves has been out multiple years now. Parise was just planning on to take the year
Oh, for
off, and Vincent
sure.
called him. He was retiring at the end of just this past season. So.
Well, I'm sure he's been staying in shape.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, he's skating right now. He's training. He's on doing on ice activities. So I'm intrigued to see where he goes and if he goes anywhere, if he makes truly an impact on or off the ice. I'm almost certain that he will make an impact off the ice for sure, and even on the ice too. Like I don't, he's not going to be thrust into a role of being expected to go back and be this two-way centerman that dominates the game anymore. No, 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 no. It's just going to be more of a Zach Parise situation, like we explained. So,
Yeah, it should be
all right,
interesting. I mean, I hope he comes back because he was a great player and see if he still has anything left in the tank.
that's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy our love content, all of our socials are down below as well as the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching and listening over on Spotify and Apple as well. See you guys in our next episode.